Single female lead, for Fufu. Praise the most beautiful Fufu in the world. Single female lead, for Fufu. Praise the most beautiful Fufu in the world. In the Epicletian Opera House, Funina trembled and said. Wei Fan. Guilty. Funina was well aware that everything he did was for her. But she is the deity of Fengdan. Wei Fan, I'm sorry. The swaying eyes looked over in confusion, only to see a firm smiling face facing her and nodding. God loves her lover, but loves the people even more, because she is the god of Fengdan. My lover loves her, that's why I love Fengdan, because she is his only goddess. The heavenly tree fell in love with the Epiphyllum, and the Epiphyllum was also willing to offer its most brilliant moment. Chapter 1. There is a person on the top of Qingyun mountain. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. On the towering Qingyun peak, the figure of a young man stands tall and independent, with a quaint sword inserted into the soil beside him, emitting a faint cold light. The chilly wind howled past, blowing up refined short hair, and a pair of eyes emitting sharpness, as if containing the sun, moon, and stars, but also emitting a breath that does not belong to this starry sky. Haha. My arms bulged like a dragon entwined around me, and the man seemed to swing slowly, but he also cast shadows one after another. The footsteps below also followed like shadows, as if demonstrating some top-notch secret. However, this was just a warm-up, but the man's figure flashed and he appeared in front of the large sword standing next to him. With a kick on his right leg, the sword spun and flew into the sky. The sharp blade swept through the air, emitting a whistling sound. The spinning sword lost its strength and charged towards the man like a shooting star. The man lightly jumped and grabbed it with his right hand, and the big sword was waved in the man's hand like an arm finger. In the shadows of swords and knives, clothes and clothing float freely, and the ancient and simple moves contain astonishing sharpness. Surrounded by deep ravines, it is evident that the man has been practicing here for quite some time. Puff. The man seemed to have rehearsed for a whole week, and the ancient and simple sword penetrated into the soil again, while his sturdy upper body was soaked with sweat, revealing the blade-like outline. Oh, what kind of body is that? The refined muscles don't lose their sense of explosion, and the overall coordination doesn't go wrong, just like the mountain walls at Qingyun Peak, which are naturally made, and the divine craftsmanship of nature is nothing more than that. Omega, ha! A crane crowing came from the sky, and a fairy-like flying crane slowly approached. Huh, Wei Fan's obedient disciple, you are really amazing. In just 3 years, you have reached this level of cultivation. You really bring glory to being a teacher. What, this crane can speak human words. Upon closer inspection, it turns out that this is the true ruler of Liyue Daishan, who has been passed down from generation to generation in the population of Liyue. Returning to my master, I also want to thank my master for taking me in and nurturing me 3 years ago. Otherwise, how could I have all the skills I have today, said a man named Wei Fan, clasping his fists and bowing. No, that's because you have exceptional talent. Originally, 3 years ago, the emperor brought you to me, causing me great confusion. He even threatened that you were from a different world and asked me to cultivate you well. Ha, I didn't expect your talent to be amazing. You can learn both talismans, Taoist techniques, and mechanism techniques at once. My 1,000-year-old possessions will be emptied by you, this kid. Liyue Daishan Jinjuan said again, Wei Fan, do you know? On that day, the emperor directly stated that your appearance may change the historical cycle of Tibet. Changing the cycle of Tibet's history, murmured Wei Fan to himself. Yes, but now you still have the last crucial thing. Do you know what it is? Yes. It's the eye of the gods. Wei Fan scratched his head and replied with confusion and certainty. Yes, even if you are a guest from another world, now you are just an ordinary human with an ordinary body. The spells you practice are only body skills. Without the eye of God, you cannot mobilize the most fundamental power in this world. Elemental power. Even if your body is strong and your sword is sharp, you will still be easily defeated by those humans with the Eye of God. Wei Fan's big eyes were full of confusion. But master, don't you have the Eye of God? I saw the true ruler of Liyue Daishan with his eyes slightly closed, his high crane head slightly raised, and his tone was a bit curvaceous, saying. Number 34, I am an immortal beast, how can I compare with humans? Number 34, ah. Yes, yes. Master is the most powerful. Master is the most powerful. Oh my God, my master is so terrifying. Wei Fan, who had already figured out his master's temper, quickly slipped his beard and patted the horse path. Ha, isn't it? Even that woman is a bit inferior to me. As the topic was about to tilt to a distance of 108,000 miles, Wei Fan quickly pulled back the reins and brought the topic back to the main point. But master. Then how should I obtain the Eye of God? Number 34, as for how to obtain the Eye of God, on the one hand, you need to have enough luck. On the other hand, you need to have the fiercest wish. It's so intense that it can shatter the night and illuminate the starry sky. That's right, Wei Fan traveled through the blue star. I vaguely remember that when he opened the pool in version 4.2 of the Genshin Impact, he immediately went on for 10 consecutive times. At that time, he only remembered the golden scene, which pierced his eyes like the sun. When he was shocked and wanted to share this epic-making event with his friends, he directly closed his eyes without saving anyone. When I opened my eyes again, I was already on the continent of Taiwat, and it was at the largest port of Taiwat. Port of Liyue. Our little brother Wei Fan is so excited. He looks around like a second egg from his hometown. That's okay, not only did he harass passers-by, so he was reported and arrested by Liyue Jun. How can ordinary people travel through time? Will those who travel through time be ordinary people? Wei Fan became even more excited. Due to his unknown identity and his constant chatter, various signs appeared very suspicious. According to the recollection of a purple-hair glass moon 7-star at the time, when I first asked this person, he casually spread rumors and kept asking me whether to sell cow offal and scraping. There is no logic between words. But when I went back, I immediately drafted a bill on strengthening the mental treatment of the people of Liyue, which was quite effective. It seems that we overlooked this aspect before. As for how Wei Fan left in the end. I met Mr. Zhongli, who was wandering in the world, while disrupting order and carrying out labor reform. The starry atmosphere that did not belong to Tivit was suddenly exposed, and the foreign gods extended a helping hand. All the problems that followed were easily solved, and he even became a disciple of the true ruler of Liyue Daishan. Chapter 2. The Beginning of Experience. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. The sun continued to rise, and Wei Fan continued his early training as usual. But the calm and tranquil state of mind in the past has stirred up ripples in circles, and there is no way out of the unfathomable meditation. Since the Heavenly Master told him yesterday about the importance of the Eye of God, his heart has been in turmoil. Wei Fan knew that if he wanted to enhance his strength again, it was time to search for his own divine eye. Although his physical skills and abilities are not inferior to those of ordinary divine eye wearers, he is ultimately not a top-notch person. Climbing higher peaks is the only way to see further. Perhaps we can return to the blue star in the future. Just, what is my wish? The man in Lingfeng buried his head in deep thought and murmured to himself. Ah, it's really a difficult problem. After the time travel occurred, apart from the initial excitement, Wei Fan was left with thick doubts. The first 3 fundamental questions of humanity also began to appear in his mind. Who am I? Where do I come from? Where am I going? Based on the idea of settling for what comes first, Wei Fan began to take root in Liyue. In a different world, the first thing to think about is to gain strength. Even if it's not enough, you still need to embrace your thighs. In retrospect, Wei Fan really felt scared for his waves of suicidal behavior. Fortunately, although he did not have the eye of God to use elemental power, his special identity allowed him to be fortunate enough to worship under the immortal gate. According to the true ruler of Liyue Daishan, he has some talents and can learn some spells, but due to human weakness, he needs to rely on external forces to use elemental power. But after all, Wei Fan has gone through several versions of Genshin Impact, and he also knows the general trend of some subsequent plots. I have only been practicing in the mountains for 3 years, not caring about worldly affairs. I don't know what version of the plot is now, and now the yellow-haired traveler is having 1.1 conversations with which deity. I have learned almost all the techniques and body techniques. Is it time to go down the mountain and experience them now? Wei Fan put down his crossed legs and looked at the prosperous city at the foot of the mountain from afar. The gentle breeze brushed against my face, as if I could hear the bustling sound of people in Liyue city. Gnawing, clattering. On Mount Hulao, a figure was slowly walking step by step up the mountaintop, and it was Wei Fan who was preparing to bid farewell to his master. For the past 3 years, the master can be said to be meticulous, very considerate, and properly trained as a disciple, but he doesn't know how to cook. At the beginning, Wei Fan ate grass every day, and after enduring it for a few days, he couldn't help but start cooking on his own, practicing his cooking skills. According to the master's original words, as a teacher, I can still enjoy such delicious food in this world. It's so wonderful. Sometimes, Liyue borrowed the wind, and Uncle Qingyun and Sister Shenhe would also come to grab a meal, all praising them as delicious. Master eats the food I make every day. As soon as I leave, Master won't get used to it. As his thoughts dissipated, Wei Fan had already arrived at the top of Hulao Mountain. I saw a pool of blue waves gently rippling, and a cliff towering abruptly. Strange runes flowed faintly, and the cave of Liyue Daishan Qingyun was reflected in front of me. Wei Fan arched his hands and said, "Master, I hereby come to bid farewell." A gentle breeze swept through a leaf, swirling and falling into the water, creating ripples and circles, leaving only waves of waiting. Wei Fan, have you figured it out yet? There are many crises at the foot of the mountain, and it's not as carefree as on the mountain. Master, I want to explore my own wish. Alas, if I had known yesterday, I wouldn't have boasted too much, otherwise I wouldn't have stirred up your thoughts about bidding farewell. It's just okay, let's go with you. A lonely voice emanated, as if regretful or reluctant. Undoubtedly, falling flowers are merciless, flowing water is intentional. The bed that has been sleeping for a few days now has emotions, let alone watching the growing disciple. Master, don't worry, I will come back to see your elderly family during the Lantern Festival. You bastard. Goodbye, Master. Amidst laughter, Wei Fan bid farewell to his master, and a brand new life was about to begin. Tiva has 7 unique countries, and there is a natural law. Where should I go? Wei Fan walked down the mountain path, scratching his head and contemplating his future direction. Let me think about it. Is it going to the windy country of Mond? Drinking and having fun with the great Lord Babados. Then I have to be careful not to be fooled. Even the Eternal Kingdom's rice wife is fine. Let's go see the great Thunderbolt General's shadow, and that fragrant sword will make me crave it. Jia, Sumi, let me think about it. The little grass god is also too pitiful. How about I transform into a righteous concave man to save him? Just thinking of the fragrant little grass god makes me feel so happy. Thinking and fantasizing, Wei Fan walked to the foot of the mountain. What comes into view is the towering Liyue port, with various noisy selling sounds faintly heard in my ears. But what impressed Wei Fan the most was the magnificent sea, boundless and boundless, holding the sky and connecting the clouds. The breath of the sea rushed towards us, reminding us of the land of water. Fengdan. Why don't we go to Fengdan? The new version of the plot hasn't been released yet, and is the water god Funina really like that? It feels like she has a knife, and there should be a deep secret behind her exaggerated behavior. Ah! It's not true that everything in the foresight is true, is it? Wei Fan, who was descending the mountain, stopped his steps with a worried look in his eyes. Wei Fan, am a gifted traveler from heaven to save the beautiful girl from another world. Only gods can afford to be a human in this reincarnation. That should be faster. First, go to Liyue port to explore the virtual and real world. You need to know where the yellow-haired traveler has gone. Wei Fan had the idea of dying, and his legs couldn't help but quicken their pace. Jia, when you're in love with the gods, it's exciting to think about it. Ha ha ha, I've made a decision. Fengdan, my water god lord, your little mortal is here. Chapter 3. Practice of Liyue Port. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Liyue Port, Crescent Pavilion. Hiccup. Wei Fan patted his stomach comfortably, his eyes slightly narrowed, and he picked up the toothpick on the table to pick his teeth. It's been a long time since I was so satisfied, and I've returned to the world. Haha, fortunately, I'm very clever. I played a chess game early before, otherwise I wouldn't even have the money for this meal now. Of course, Wei Fan did not go directly to Fengdan, because as he had just descended the mountain, he found it difficult to move a single step. His mind was completely clear and he had no basic Tivit knowledge. I have nothing in my pocket, not a single mora. Based on the similarity between Liyue and ancient China, Wei Fan developed and shamelessly copied several ancient poems and essays, which were essential skills for travelers. Copying books. For example, Du Fu's Watching the Mountains, Su Shi's Inscription on the Western Forest Wall, Li Bai's Sitting Alone at Jingting Mountain, and so on, were all plagiarized by Wei Fan with added embellishment and even given the pen name Fufu. Omega, his heart is sinister, his face is deep, and no one can match it. Due to Wei Fan staying in the mountains all year round, these poems and essays were published and distributed with the help of his senior sister Qingyun. At the beginning, it was just one article at a time, published in some large journals. But later on, Wei Fan became even more severe, plagiarizing multiple articles and compiling them into a collection, naming it Guanshan Wenji. It can be said that it is a decoration of heaven and earth. For a while, this collection of articles became popular in Liyue. And praised by renowned commentator Mr. Zhongli, reading this person's poetry can be said to be a painting in the poem, a poem in the painting. At this point, Wei Fan gained great fame and both wealth and fame. And there is a continuous stream of money and income, which can be called the wealthy side. People only know the name Puff, while Wei Fan knows very little about it. Sister Qingyun, I miss you so much. Wei Fan, who had just descended the mountain, quickly arrived at Qingyun's office. Unexpectedly, Qingyun was dozing off, his head slowly pounding like a drum. Oh! Wei Fan, who was restless, also startled Qingyun. Qingyun, who had come to her senses, rubbed her hazy eyes and a smile appeared on her delicate face. It's Xiaofan, why did you come down the mountain? Wei Fan showed a look of heartache on his face and hurriedly walked behind Qingyun, beating his back with nimble hands and feet. Senior sister, are you too worried? You don't have to be so busy, take a good rest. You can entrust these official duties to those who are the 7 stars of the moon. Come on, senior sister, this is the pure heart I picked for you at Qingyun, 100% pure and natural. Ah, thank you Xiaofan. Qingyun's pretty face turned red and said, oh my, I'm gaining weight again. It's okay, this official matter will be handled quickly. You haven't said what you're doing down yet, kid. Qingyun smiled and turned his gaze to Wei Fan. Well, senior sister, I feel like my cultivation has reached a bottleneck. I need to take a walk outside and take a look. At this moment, Wei Fan, who was carefree, showed a hesitant attitude. Although he had been in Tivit as a traveler for less than a few years, his senior sisters took great care of him. He doesn't know if this decision is correct, but he just needs to take a walk and see. Qingyun watched the twisted posture of this junior brother. I couldn't help but start reminiscing in my heart. When she first arrived at Liyue, her junior apprentice was quite ignorant. She was even arrested for harassing passers-by, and later became her junior brother by chance. It's really surprising that her junior brother not only has amazing talent, but also has excellent literary talent. The poems and essays he wrote were all published with the help of Ganyu himself. Even Mr. Zhongli from the Memorial Hall praised him greatly. Just because her junior brother is about to go on a long journey, as a senior sister, she is also a bit reluctant. In recent years, Wei Fan has also been very filial to his senior sisters, occasionally picking Qingyun flowers and cooking for them. People are not plants and trees, who can be ruthless. Over the past few years, I have definitely left behind a lot of emotions. Are you ready to go somewhere? Ganyu asked anxiously, afraid that this kid might unknowingly go to some dangerous places and provoke some enemies that shouldn't be provoked. Senior sister, I'm planning to go to Fengdan. It's said that it's very beautiful there. Fengdan, a kingdom of water, is filled with peace and tranquility. It is said that the water god is also very fair and just. No, Wei Fan doesn't know how to go there, so he specifically wants to challenge this called justice. The beautiful eyebrows furrowed tightly, and the unpleasant gaze turned to Wei Fan. I know. Sister, I must be very well behaved. You also know my martial arts skills, I won't provoke anyone. Oh, by the way, senior sister, do you know where the traveler has gone? Wei Fan, who had regained his senses, quickly asked the question he wanted the most. Ganyu recalled, as a traveler, he just left Liyue 2 years ago. According to his route, he should have arrived now. At Sumeru. It's also possible that I went to Fengdan. Oh, by the way, why are you asking this? Isn't the traveler a great hero? I want to know his footsteps. Ganyu began to explain some precautions for Wei Fan's outdoor training, showcasing a strong sense of concern in a verbose manner. Oh, by the way, senior sister. I have written a novel. Although it is only the first one now, could you please ask Sister Ganyu to help me publish it? Yo! What other works did my great writer write? Wei Fan took out a novel from his arms, on which 2 large characters were written. Three-body problem. This name is a bit strange, isn't it? Poetry or ancient literature? What are you doing writing this novel for? Ganyu took the novel over and flipped through the pages, constantly exclaiming in surprise. Because I think some of the plot in the novel happened in reality. Wei Fan's gaze turned to the window and towards the vast sea. Even though the waves on the sea surface are surging, the animals below the sea surface are not affected and can still live their old lives. Just, do these animals know about it themselves? Will they be grateful to the sea? Chapter 4. Friends on the Journey. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. A giant tree covering the sky, a lush greenway, a figure slowly walking from afar. Wei Fan rested his head on his hands and held a mint in his mouth, leisurely humming, the most dazzling ethnic style. The talent that can be praised by the true ruler of Liyue Daishan is definitely extraordinary. Wei Fan has walked all the way and has indeed not encountered any enemy moves. Lazy sunlight penetrates through layers of leaves, leaving scattered dream marks. The grass of Sumi contains vitality, and there are several agile little beasts in every blade of grass. We'll be in the desert soon. Speaking of Maple Dan, with so much water, can't we give her neighboring country some help? Noli, the strange Tivot. The young man was amazed by the magical world, unaware that the gears of fate had already turned, and new shoots sprouted from the branches of the world tree, in front of the Kawan post. Let's spread it. The distant trees trembled in waves, and the familiar voice immediately made Wei Fan's ears stand up and murmur to himself. I'll wipe it, can't I? Can't I? Am I the real protagonist? Looking over, the breath of the starry sky rushed towards me. The yellow-haired traveler is competing with a group of mushroom beasts. Upon closer inspection, there seems to be a white floating object on the high tree top. Time flies, time never comes again. Brother's charm is so high. Without much thought, Wei Fan picked up his big sword. While making a strange sound of jia jia jia, he took steps and ran towards the battlefield. Dang dang. There was a loud noise in the sky, and Wei Fan arrived with a shining light. Wei Fan successfully put on a pose and rushed into the battlefield like a BGM. The imagined scene did not occur, and the blonde traveler slightly tilted his body, incorporating Wei Fan's direction into the range of the blade. Hey hey hey. That's not right. Wei Fan was about to reason, but was hit by a mushroom beast with a thud. Ah ah. Be careful. The traveler and Pemon exclaimed in surprise. It's okay, it's my carelessness. Actually, I'm. Forget it, traveler, please keep an eye on me and see how strong I am. Wei Fan put down the large sword blocking in front of him, and shadows kept lingering under his feet. With one step, he stepped into the group of mushroom beasts. Bang! 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 I saw a man wielding a large sword with one arm, like a sledgehammer hitting a nail. With one strike, a child couldn't distinguish between north and south. The dust dissipated, and Wei Fan exhaled a mouthful of turbid air. His shoulders twisted, but he was thinking about what topic to use to ease the awkward situation just now. Wow, you're so amazing. You look ordinary, why is your strength so strong? Pai Meng, known as the God's Mouth, flew down from the treetop and kept circling around Wei Fan. The traveler also walked over and kindly extended his right hand, which had retracted the long sword. A fresh voice sounded, containing unknown journeys and secrets. Hello, stranger friend. I am a traveler, you can call me Empty. Wei Fan was stunned for a moment, and a wild and unrestrained smile appeared on his face. The right hand was lowered from the awkward head and gripped the suspended palm. I am Wei Fan, from Liyue. Nice to meet you, traveler. The starry sky fills the earth, the illusory moon illuminates the sky, a bonfire is lit on the desolate desert, and a few smoke wafts into the clouds. Wow, Wei Fan. So you don't have the eye of God yet, then why are you so powerful? With so many mushroom beasts, you were knocked down in one go. Hee where, it's just some minor achievements in physical arts, not worth mentioning. Not worth mentioning. Wei Fan, your strength is very good. With so many mushroom beasts, I feel a bit flustered all at once. Thanks to your help. Haha, I believe that the strength of the tourists will be safe. Come and try my special dish. Magma tofu, mapo tofu, I also want to. I also want to. Let me taste it. Wow, even. Like my head exploding, water, I want to drink water. Ha ha ha. Watching Pai Meng spit out his tongue to find water to drink, Wei Fan and the traveler couldn't help but burst into laughter. Happy laughter spread throughout the fields, and the holy golden worm, which had just poked its head out, was startled and crawled back. Starry oases adorn the desert, lush green cacti adorned with crimson fruits, which appear particularly charming against the backdrop of yellow sand. The wind blew through the sand, and a rolling grass rolled to the feet of the group. Hee, aim the Pai Meng cannon, hee, Pai Meng pounced on the rolling grass. But reality played a small joke, and inside came out a few scorpions waving their pliers. Ah, help! Faster than the pliers was the figure of Pemon, and a burst of starlight flickered as he hid. A small head peeked out from behind the traveler, and big eyes were filled with fear. Wei Fan, go. Go. Do it, so, I got the ingredients for dinner like this. A cry of seagulls came from afar, and the roaring water vapor swept over the sand dunes, making the view suddenly clear. Fengdan has arrived. Chapter 5. The Brave Actor. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. The rushing waterfall cascades down, and the azure sea is boundless. The front area can now be explored. The mischievous Parman made a joke and his agile body flew out first. Huh, Peman, please slow down. The traveler also spread his wings and followed. Is this Fengdan? It's really water. Wei Fan lightly jumped and followed suit. A gentle breeze blew, and the rushing travelers arrived at the finish line. Standing in the port of Fengdan, a completely different atmosphere and charm from that of Liyue port come to one's face, and the various strange instruments leave a deep impression. Looking around, the people here are all dressed in gorgeous clothes, and their exquisite appearance reflects the luxury of life, as well as the rhythmic atmosphere of abundant leisure for the people of Fengdan. Hey, this little kawaii is so cute. Wei Fan, with his sharp eyes, suddenly saw Melu Xian in the distance, jumping and bouncing as he walked, almost hitting his heart. In the distance by the water, Lynette, a humanoid cat-eared woman, stood on the shore, staring blankly at the water surface without moving. Wei Fan looked left and right, but couldn't find anything in the water. Little kitten, do you want to eat fish? Without stopping, our Wei Fan is not something that ordinary people can guess. I'm joking. Are you? Okay. A beautiful girl always attracts extra attention. The traveler's attention was also drawn. The sun was gradually setting in the sky, and everyone who had made new friends also stopped talking and followed Linny to the side. After a period of memories and conversations from the past, Wei Fan and his group learned about Fengdan's prophecy. Suddenly, a loud and roaring sound began. I saw teams of private soldiers running up and down the stairs, standing straight on both sides of the aisle, as if the grand ceremony was welcoming some important person. An elegant figure appeared on the high platform ahead. The slender thighs are like two pillars of cold ice. The deep blue evening gown and pure white long hair complement each other, while the tall top hat cannot suppress the firm and dull hair. Everyone leaned aside, and Funina made a brilliant appearance. Rich, poor, people with wine glasses or nothing, raise your wine glasses. Use your arms to replace what you don't have. The opening speech of the water god seemed quite imposing, and the Maple Dan crowd below raised their arms and shouted loudly. As you can see, strangers have come to my country. Come on, let's send them blessings. To travelers from afar and their companions. The water god on stage guides the atmosphere of the scene with every move, and the people of Fengdan will also join in. Everything is normal, but it doesn't look like it. The water god is very approachable and does not match the image of other deities described by travelers, and is also completely different from the imperial temperament known to Wei Fan. The water god is just like a shining superstar, on stage is her absolute home ground. The slender figure stood in front of the stage, with slightly raised hands seemingly facing the whole world, while the large sapphire eyes looked at the traveler with a bright and lively expression. Welcome to the land of water. I, Fukuros, will acknowledge the value and significance of your journey. Now, you can cheer to your heart's content. Munbi fruit on the tree, you and me under the tree. Absolutely, it's just a super eye-catching bag, she. Did she exert too much force? Pai Meng asked in a low voice, his face full of expression. Wei Fan felt very unhappy, only feeling a bit awkward. But after all, on this shining stage, there can't be only one person singing and acting on their own. Ah, my perfect and beautiful water god, it is precisely because of your arrival that this heaven and earth shine brightly. Your faithful believer Wei Fan sincerely praises you. Your Excellency, the Queen of all waters, all directions, all people, and all laws. Suddenly quiet, as if only the sound of flowing water was left. After a few seconds of sedimentation, there was a tsunami-like cheering. Ah, why is this person? How could you answer like this? I feel a bit. What's the reason for being a bit shy? Funina, you need to pick yourself up. It's your turn to answer. Funina adjusted her clothes, closed her eyes slightly, shook her body, and forced herself to calm down. She cleared her throat and said, "Cough cough, my devout believer. Although you are not a person of Fengdan, I still accept your praise." But Wei Fan pouted and flicked his right leg backwards, his legs crossed, his waist slightly bent, his left hand placed under his abdomen, and his right hand gently swung backwards. "Ah, this is my supreme honor. Thank you, my beautiful water god, your elegance is truly heart-stopping." Do, Hongxia instantly climbed onto her cheeks, and Lord Funina's shoulders trembled upwards, her head popping up like a bubble pot. "Humph Ben. I have something important to attend to, so I'll take a step forward." Lord Shueishan hurriedly left the scene, his delicate calves running rapidly, as if there was a big grey wolf behind him. The independent and aloof dumbfounded hair trembled, indicating that the mood of the water god lord was not very calm. The arrogant actress flaunted herself on stage, and all things in the world became her spectators, just staged endless farce for the elusive hope. But at this moment, the grand stage will no longer be directed or performed by actors, and another protagonist will also step onto the stage under the illumination of the lights. Is it an opponent or an assistant? What kind of ending will this absurd play come to an end? P.S. I feel that Fufu's skill design also has a profound meaning. Hifu is the several summoners of the Lonely Heart Salon, who are pure water creatures that Funina desires to understand and has transformed into. By Fu, why is she a wet nurse? Can't play, don't you tackle yet. Because Bai Fu can't do anything, all she can do is appease the people's hearts and give them comfort. Hifu and Bai Fu together created the Funina we know, a beautiful appearance but extremely lonely and lovable Funina. Praise Fufu. Chapter 6. Are you a puff? You are listening at novelfull.audio. All Maple Dan people are born with sins. No matter how the just country Maple Dan judges, it cannot be dissolved. Until one day, the sea level of Fengdan will begin to rise, and those who bear sins will gradually be submerged by the sea. In the end, everyone will dissolve in the sea, leaving only the water god crying on his throne. So far, the sins of the Fengdan people will be washed away. After bidding farewell to the traveler, Wei Fan came to the Fengdan court. The towering Fengdan court displays its connection with water everywhere, and the high walls must be designed to block the rising sea water. Above the head, various waterways crisscross and crisscross. On the ground, various types of fountains can also be seen everywhere. Strolling through the fantasy world, recalling the prophecy Linny had told, Wei Fan, who had learned about some of the plot, couldn't come up with a solution for a moment. Hey, take a step and see. I can't help Fufu now. In terms of life alone, ignoring that prophecy, Fengdan still looks like a good place. What should I do if I am in a foreign country? That must be finding a place to live for oneself first. Wei Fan wandered around and chose a delicate two-story small Western-style building. The transportation here is convenient, the view is broad, and most importantly, it is also very close to the Mamong Palace, so there are more opportunities to meet Fufu. Hee. My Fufu, hee. Subsequently, Wei Fan went out to prepare to buy some things and decorate his room. Afterwards, a leisurely meal in the world began. Turning around, I arrived at a bustling bookstore. Before I could even walk up to her, I saw a pink-haired girl wearing a red beret from a distance, holding a camera and outputting. Her highly dedicated work attitude demonstrates that she is Charlotte, the top journalist of the Steaming Bird newspaper. Terrifying. Wei Fan finally walked up to him and realized what Charlotte was filming. I saw banners hanging all over the outside of the bookstore, with eye-catching big characters telling extraordinary content. Don't miss it when you pass by, the great poet Puff is pushing new works. How should people respond to the imminent enemy from beyond? Shocked, aliens are about to attack Tivit Mom, we are all insects. If there were no accidents, they would have happened. Should perhaps my own three-body problem has been released here. I saw that the store was crowded with people, and everywhere were people looking at or rushing to buy Maple Dan. Along the way, Wei Fan's previous works also sold well. It is obvious that this novel is very popular on the Tibet continent. Wei Fan just walked in expressionlessly and took a glance, then left the bookstore expressionlessly. Just as Wei Fan walked out of the bookstore, a microphone hit his mouth. "Hello, I am Charlotte from the steamboat. May I interview you?" Okay. Okay, thank you. Please come over here." After a period of busyness, Charlotte finally ended her interview. Undoubtedly the top journalist of the Steaming Bird, Charlotte's questions are very targeted. But as the author of the novel, Three-Body Problem, Wei Fan not only easily resolved it, but also openly and secretly promoted it, while also praising the author, himself, well, let me think. Steam Bird News, it sounds great. How about I become a journalist too? Isn't it like I interview anyone I want? Charlotte's journalist's free will deeply attracted Wei Fan, and he also wanted to find a job like this. Although he didn't have the troubles of Mora at the moment, he couldn't sit idly by every day and enjoy life appropriately. After multiple inquiries, Wei Fan finally arrived at the Steam Bird newspaper. The Fengdan court may not appear to have a large area, but its height is quite substantial. Round and round, unable to find the way for a while. As soon as he arrived here, Wei Fan met Fu, the editor-in-chief of the Steam Bird News. After explaining the reason for the incident, he was introduced to the office. "After all, we are recruiting new employees. Apart from the editor-in-chief, Fu, there are also some other people in the office who came to interview Wei Fan, including Charlotte." "Oh, you're not that." Charlotte saw Wei Fan with a shocked expression on her face. He covered his mouth with one hand and pointed to Wei Fan with the other. "What's wrong, Charlotte? Is there any problem?" Off asked curiously when she saw Charlotte's appearance. "Oh, it's like this. Miss Charlotte just interviewed me. But Miss Charlotte's professionalism moved me, and I also want to join in and contribute to the pursuit of truth." "Oh hello, Mr. Wei Fan. You would like to apply for our journalist position. Have you had any previous experience reporting on?" I haven't reported this before." "Oh, that's right. Have you ever published any articles before?" Well, there are some, but..." "Just what?" Fu followed closely and asked. At the same time, the other people in the room also shifted their gaze to Wei Fan. I have written some poems. I have also published a collection of essays called The Collected Works of Genshin. Hey, that's not." Charlotte widened her eyes. "Yes. I also wrote a novel, even though only the first one was released. It was the book, The Three-Body Problem, Miss Charlotte, I didn't mean to." Wei Fan was thinking about how to alleviate the awkward situation when he saw Charlotte stand up suddenly, leaning her arms on the table. "Are you the puff? Chapter 7. Charlotte's exclusive report. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Wei Fan can now convert to other gods, such as the god of awkwardness. The moment before, I was still praising others with a steady and dignified tone. Turning around but being discovered again, it turned out to be self-deprecating. I still admit it myself in front of others. Even if Wei Fan's face is thick enough, it's a bit, just a little sorry. But our Charlotte journalist is not just an ordinary person. Not only did she not feel any anger at the deception, but she became even more excited. I see, so you are the writer, Puff. I'm curious, how could anyone answer my question so perfectly? It seems that my luck is really good. I directly interviewed the author himself. Charlotte left her seat, circling around Wei Fan while constantly exclaiming. I thought the person who could create such a collection of essays and poems would be an old man over 50 years old. Charlotte looked at Wei Fan with glowing eyes, like a shark smelling the smell of blood. And the other editors also looked at Wei Fan with a shocked expression. Wei Fan was surrounded like a talking swelling beast, and now he didn't feel embarrassed. He felt a little scared. Undoubtedly, Wei Fan successfully passed the interview and officially joined the Steam Bird newspaper. When Wei Fan first joined, he caused a considerable sensation in the Steam Bird newspaper. Many journalists and editors wanted to take a look and see who this famous author, Puff, really was. However, due to his lack of reporting experience, he can only be considered a rookie journalist and was temporarily assigned to work with Charlotte. Of course, this was Charlotte's request, the reason being that Wei Fan had deceived her and she needed a helper. Of course, this is not Charlotte seeking revenge, but rather smelling the scent of front-page headlines. Ouch, Wei Fan, since you're here, the previous report can't be published. You're really serious, why don't you just tell me you're the author? It made me look embarrassed. But it's also good, you prepare well first. Hehe, I will be the first person on the entire Tibet continent to interview the writer. Puff. Cats like fish, dogs like bones, but some journalists prefer exclusive reporting the most. The next day. In the latest issue of the Steam Bird newspaper, the most eye-catching front-page headline featured an article titled, "Famous Writer, Puff, Startled Maple Dan, He Unexpectedly." The title of the article is very misleading, so the content is definitely a bird of a feather. On that day, Charlotte overturned all the previous interview content and directly took the report on interviewing passers-by to the level of interviewing the author. He creatively designed many questions to interview Wei Fan, preparing to make a sensational exclusive debut. Just like, "Mr. Wei Fan, why is your pen name Puff? What is the meaning? Can you explain it? Miss Charlotte, as you know, I come from Liyue and my writing leans towards this direction. But a long time ago, I heard that in the land of water, Fengdan, there was a queen of water, all directions, all people, and all laws. It is said that this water god lord can also judge other gods. I was extremely shocked at the time, and the feeling of worship arose naturally. I was thinking about how to meet the water god lord. It is said that Lord Shueishan likes to eat puffs, so I named it after him. Isn't that why I came? Even luckier, when I first arrived at Fengdan, I was fortunate enough to meet the water god lord. The water god lord was so charming, and I was even more certain that my choice was the right one. Let's not elaborate on the real reasons. P greater than or equal to W less than or equal to Q. Mr. Wei Fan, you said you have already met the water god lord, so how do you feel? Firstly, the impression given to me by Lord Water God is not so lofty. According to the people of Fengdan, Lord Water God is like a big star. But I don't think so. In my opinion, Lord Water God is like a little girl, lively, kind, and mischievous. Mr. Wei Fan, your three-body problem should be more than one, right? Yes, Miss Charlotte. The second part has already been written and should be released soon. The plot inside will be more diverse, so please take good care of it. The title explodes, the content explodes, but is this the end? No, 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 at the end of the article, there is also a handsome photo of Wei Fan. Wei Fan gazes affectionately into the distance, and the afterglow of the sunset shines on his resolute face, showing a hint of tenderness. What's even more fascinating is that the distance Wei Fan was looking at was in the direction of Mo Mang Palace. This photo was not taken casually. It was Charlotte who had Wei Fan pose for a long time, selecting them one by one, with angles and light and shadow being the top choices. The Steam Bird News is Fengdan's largest newspaper and its influence is also very significant, so, I love you. He's so affectionate. He gave such a loving name for Lord Funina. The second installment of The Three-Body Problem is about to be released. I'm really looking forward to it. I must become the first person to read it. Ha ha ha, I can't laugh anymore. My family Wei Fan said that Water God is a little girl, but how could there be a few hundred-year-old little girl? Chapter 8. People Under Street Lights. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Miss Charlotte is truly a professional journalist, and just one interview report sparked a huge craze in Fengdan. Although Wei Fan himself has gained some fame from his previous works, after this wave of promotion, the people of Fengdan all know him as Wei Fan. In the early morning of the Mo Mang Palace, Lord Funina was savoring the exquisite cake with one hand and occasionally sipping the steaming milk tea next to her. Our water god is enjoying a breakfast exclusively for the gods. Hey! What is this? Funina's gaze glanced at the Steambird newspaper on the nearby table, and she was immediately attracted by the headline. She freed her little hand holding milk tea and took the newspaper over to read. So this Wei Fan is the puff, Funina kept exclaiming, are you so young? Ha, no wonder it can catch the attention of this deity. Is it interesting? Just looking at it, Funina realized something was wrong. Lord Shuaishan is like a little girl, dudu, the pink bubble pot reappeared, and Funina's chubby little face immediately bulged. The cake at hand also became less delicious. How come Wei Fan, how speaking of me like this, do you still want my Lord Funina's face? Lord Funina, what's wrong with you? Melushan next to her noticed that Lord Water God was wrong and immediately rushed over to ask. Nothing. Nothing. Oh, this cup of milk tea doesn't taste right. Can you help me get another one? Funina forced herself to calm down and found an excuse to distract Melushan. The sitting body slowly leaned against the armchair. Yes, from 500 years ago until now, Funina has almost always demonstrated the grace of a deity in every move, playing the role of a water god every moment. And everyone is praising her as a deity. The people praise and respect her, as if only she says others are little girls. But for hundreds of years, only I know my loneliness. It seems like only Wei Fan, and only Wei Fan. He said he was a little girl. Yes, that's right. She is just a little girl. He is just a little girl who enjoys eating exquisite desserts and watching dramas. I'm so tired, I really want to confide in you. A tear quietly slipped down and landed on Wei Fan's big head photo in the newspaper. Funina stared blankly, feeling a string lightly touched in her heart. Lord Funina, here comes your milk tea. The lovely Melushan returned. Well, let me taste it. Not bad, is that right? The cup just now was problematic. Sorry, Lord Funina, I will be more careful next time. It's okay, Lord Benshue has forgiven you for your mistake this time. The moon climbed up the treetops, its cold light illuminating the entire starry sky. The moon in Tibet is really unique, it's always so round. On the way home, Wei Fan looked at the big disk in the sky and couldn't help but murmur. Click click click. The bones on his body creaked, and Wei Fan couldn't help but stop. Moved my body. Journalists are not easy to become. Wei Fan felt bitter in his heart under the leadership of Charlotte these days. Wei Fan can be said to have walked the entire Fengdan court neatly. Whether it's uncovering tiles in a house or fishing in the sea, Charlotte doesn't mind the intricacies and even claims to seek first-hand information. Wei Fan was holding a newly bought cake in one hand and leaning on his waist with the other, puzzled by his martial arts skills. Why is he so fragile? Walking slowly, Wei Fan thought to himself that he shouldn't work alone, otherwise our robust young man's young body wouldn't be able to bear it anymore. Wei Fan couldn't help but rub his eyes and saw a delicate figure squatting under the dim light in the distance. A dark blue small suit, tightly fitting on the body, compact calves, revealing delicate curves. The girl was holding a snack in her arms, panting as if she had run over. But filled with laughter, one by one feeding the little snacks to the kittens and puppies. The little cat rubbed against Funina's delicate ankle, while the little dog wagged its tail, licking Funina's little hand, itching and making the girl giggle. The surroundings were peaceful, and the world seemed to press the pause button. Wei Fan's heart had turned into a puddle of mud in the hazy moonlight, Wei Fan could only hear the meowing of people or cats, flowing like water, filled with youthful vitality. Under the quiet light. Exquisite people playing and frolicking with small animals that were like elven queens in the forest, making the darkness around them seem out of place, as if it was her presence that made that space shine. Wei Fan was stunned for a while before taking out his camera in a daze and recording this beautiful moment. Chapter 9. My Divine Lord. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. De co lois ara trong quatrin lay text. Chapter 10. Heartization. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. The long dull hair trembled and a wisp of green smoke quietly floated up. Your brain has crashed, please restart later. Funina was very embarrassed and wanted to find a gap to quickly crawl in. No, it's not. You heard it wrong again. Funina lowered her head and let out a mosquito-like voice. Upon closer inspection, there was still a hint of trembling sound. Funina's little face turned red at a visible speed, like a monkey's. No, this is too rude, it's an insult to the gods. The blushing little face is like the red apples hanging on the treetops of autumn, with a bright and tempting taste, tempting people to take a bite. Oh, really? The wind was too strong just now, I didn't hear anything. Surprised smile flashed by, and the cute little face lifted up. Really? Wei Fan pondered for a moment and glanced at Funina, who was eagerly anticipating her. He intended to pretend to be serious, but then chuckled. Fake. You're so angry with me, don't run. Stop me. Ha 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 ha. The steaming teacup was steaming hot, and the yellow-orange fruit tea was blown away with foam. The tempting little mouth took a sip and picked up the cake on the table to taste. Funina's eyes flickered as she looked at Wei Fan, who was busy in the kitchen. Thinking back on what had just happened, she couldn't help but touch her hot faces when chasing Wei Fan just now. Funina accidentally didn't notice the steps under her feet and stepped on them empty. Just as Funina thought she was about to fall, she heard a howl in her ear and fell into a warm embrace. Funina revealed her eyes through the fingers covering her cheeks, only to see Wei Fan's worried expression. Lord Funina, how are you? Funina felt waves of fear in her heart. The gods will not be injured, this is the consensus of everyone. In these hundreds of years, every time she was injured, Funina would lock herself in a room, slowly healing her wounds. This period is the least that Funina wants to experience, as she cannot eat delicious cakes, nor can she go to the opera house of Epicletian to watch performances and trials. No one speaks, and one cannot confide in others. But the people of Fengdan are accustomed to it, thinking that this is another program that Lord Funina is preparing. During this period, she has always been indifferent and lonely, the loneliness of no one around her, and she no longer wants to experience it. The person in his arms trembled, as if he had just regained consciousness, and slowly stood up cautiously. Cough cough. How could the great deity be in trouble? This is just a small test for you. Your performance is good, this deity recognizes you. Shaking her mind, Funina returned to her previous state and whispered, Xiafanzi, this is my secret to you. Don't tell anyone, this is a divine agreement. The beautiful person stood in front of her, tiptoeing slightly to show anticipation, but also carrying a hint of unease. Wei Fan elegantly bowed and said, My respected deity, your gaze is the goal I strive for. A proud smile returned to Funina's face, her head held high like a fierce rooster. Wei Fan smiled knowingly. Lord Funina, it's a bit cold outside. How about going to my cabin to warm up? I wonder if your little believer has this honor. Funina entered Wei Fan's small house like this. The exquisite Western-style building is adorned with green plants everywhere, with pendants embellishing the ceiling. Some paintings and calligraphy on the walls also suggest that the owner of the house has a good taste. As soon as he entered the house, Wei Fan first brewed a cup of hot fruit tea for Funina, and then slightly heated the cake and desserts he bought back to serve Funina. Lord Funina, please wait a moment, I'll go back to the kitchen and cook a few dishes. Wei Fan's figure flashed out from the kitchen door, with an apron already fastened on his body. Hey! Hey, no need. Funina was about to call out to Wei Fan, but was interrupted by the sound of table tennis and bowls of course. Wei Fan heard the gurgling sound of Funina's belly and found an excuse to turn Funina into the room, and then prepared a carefully cooked meal for Funina. Due to confusion about Funina's taste, Wei Fan picked out a few famous dishes to make, occasionally glancing at Funina sitting there. The small one was quietly drinking tea and eating cake, although her face was rosy, her body was straight, and every move exuded an elegant temperament, like a cute and lovable kitten stretching its waist just waking up from time to time. Wei Fan's gaze could still make contact with the gaze that Funina secretly looked at. Whenever this happened, Funina would lower her head like a frightened deer, even her neck turning red. Lord Funina, we've been waiting for a long time. A series of dishes with a strong aroma were served, and unlike previous dessert cakes, these dishes with soup and water seemed to have a unique flavor. Funina carefully picked up a bite and tasted it. In an instant, a sense of satisfaction arises from the bottom of my heart. Delicious, delicious. Funina immediately picked up another dish. This one is also delicious. My happy eyebrows curled up, and my small mouth never stopped. Hey, Xiaofanzi, why don't you eat it? Oh, Lord Funina is so beautiful, beautiful and delicious. I'm already full just by looking at her. How could it be? Here, this is delicious, you come and try it. Hey. Unconsciously, Funina put a piece of braised pork belly in Wei Fan's bowl. The oily meat was lying in the clear rice, and also in Wei Fan's heart. Wei Fan raised his head, and the sweet person in front of him was smiling and staring at him. His silly little head was slightly tilted, and his long eyebrows were quietly curved, forming two cute crescent moons. My God, are you going to kill me? P.S. That smile, drawing inspiration from the cutscenes of the anime, The End of the Criminals, cover.